Hello kids, it's Mrs. Janie, and today we're going to start our totem pole project. This is for 5th grade, and this is the art of the Northwest Pacific Coast Native Americans, and you'll be studying those in your class. So what is a totem pole? It's a tall wooden sculpture. It's carved. It represents a family history. And it includes images of local animals and mythological creatures. It can also show everyday objects like canoes or hats, or I think in the description I read it said it could show dishes or utensils. Oops, not too far. So who created totems? Well, they were created by Native American tribes like the Haida, the Tlingit, and the Kwakiutl. What are totems used for? They, as I said before, they record a family history, but they could also help a traveler identify connections with the tribe so that they would know where to seek help, find food, or shelter. Some can be up to 40 feet tall. The markings on the poles can represent marriages and births and other family events. Usually the colors that are used, the traditional colors used, are red, black, blue, and green. And as years went on, artists became hired to carve the totems, but they had to ask the tree for part of its power and strength before beginning the carving. And this was to show respect to the spirit of the tree. That's part of the religion of those tribes in that area. Always showing respect for all living things. Now you're going to create your own section of a totem pole. First, you're going to sketch the design. You can see my sketch at the far right of the screen. It must include an image of an animal. Now it's simplified. If you look at the examples I have here, they're not detailed, simple shapes. They must include 2 different decorative designs. You'll get a copy of this picture dictionary that you see on the screen if you're in class with me. Otherwise, you can use the one here on your screen if you're at home to get some ideas for traditional Native American designs. You will color the design on your sketch to show how you plan on painting it. You do not have to stick to the traditional colors if you don't want, but if you do want to have the traditional look to your totem, then stick to the black, the red, the blue, and the green. You will build your totem out of clay using the coil and slab methods. We're going to combine those. And then once they're fired to a bisque form after the first firing, you will paint it using acrylic paints. If you want to build one at home, you can get air dry clay from local art supply stores, or you might find a good recipe for salt dough that you could bake in your oven, or that you could let air dry and paint with craft paints. You could also build a totem out of recyclable materials that you have at home. Think about cardboard tubes from paper towel rolls, plastic containers that your dish detergent or laundry detergent comes in. Anything that you can manipulate, cardboard that you could cut into pieces, or you can simply just draw the image. Totally up to you. Okay, so I'm going to stop this and we'll take a look at how to build your totem from clay. Hi kids. All right, we are on day 2 of our totem pole project, and you're going to make a section of a totem pole. So we did our sketch already, and you should have that in front of you. And here's an example of what we're working towards. So you're going to make a section of a totem pole that we can stack. So yours is going to be about 4 inches tall, like this. Okay, and it's going to be hollow. You can see right through it. Okay, so this is one I did yesterday as an example. I'm going to show you how to get started on building just the form, just the rounded part like this, and then we'll do a third day where you will add on your parts, okay? Because we only have about 45 minutes of class to work, so I want to make sure you've got time to really do a good job. Now, I'm going to give you a paper tube, like a paper towel tube, and that's cut in half. So you've got plenty of, this is much taller than what you're going to actually be making, okay? But this is going to help hold the clay up, keep it from falling in because it's soft. So it's a brace to keep it from falling down. Now, we're going to wrap it in paper towel. So I'll show you how I did this one. This is the one I used yesterday. Okay. So I'm going to give you a paper towel like this. You're going to lay your tube down in the middle and roll it up. We want to make sure we can pull this out of the clay after it's set for a few hours. I'll do that for you because you'll be back in class by then. We're going to tuck the ends down inside like this. And you see it'll stay on there just like that. Okay? So there, I've got my paper towel on there. That makes it so that I can pull that tube out later on. You want to make sure Miss Janie can pull that out. Alright, you're going to have a chunk of clay here. And we're going to use the coil method. So that means you're going to pinch off your block of clay, kind of round it out, and we're going to roll. It's just like in kindergarten playing with Play-Doh. Okay? And I'm going to start in the middle, and notice I'm moving my hands outward as I roll. And I'm using a mat to keep it from sticking to the table. And it might move around on you. That's okay. If you start to get cracks in the clay, just take your finger and smooth over it. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, so you want it about the thickness of one of your fingers, like your pinky. That's a good one, but no thinner than that. A little bit thicker is okay, like your pointer finger. That's okay. So if you look at the thickness, okay? You don't want it to get too thin because then you won't have enough clay and it'll break when it dries. You want to make sure it's got nice thick walls. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to wrap it around our tube and coil it up like a snake. So when I get here, I'm not going to go over top of that. I'm going to come up above it and lay it on top of the layer that was there before. When I get around to the end, I'm going to smush it down. And make sure I smush the bottom up so that it's connected, it's stuck, it won't come loose, okay? I'll smooth those cracks out as I go. Use your magic finger and get rid of all those cracks on there. You're going to continue this process till you get up to about 4 inches on your tube. Okay. Now, to start the next one, this is where I left off. So I'm going to put this end right here. Pinch it or smush it down. Stick it on. Continue wrapping all the way up. When I get to the end of it, stick it down, press it down. Okay, I think one more will probably do it. Get that ready. Maybe 2. Okay. I'm going to finish this. Well, actually, I'll show you this part here. The mat's moving around too much. Okay. Oh, it broke. See what I mean by getting it too thin? It's too thin in the middle there. All right, so I'm gonna start where I left off, pinch it down, continue wrapping, pinch it down, start the next one, pinch it, wrap it on up. Okay, it's close. All right, so when you get about 4 inches high on there, we need to smooth this out. So I'm going to take my finger and between the seams of the coils, I'm going to pull up with the clay, and then from the top I'm going to kind of pull down. Don't pull all of it down, just the outer edge there. Up and down. Up from the bottom, down from the top. Okay. Now, once you get all of them joined together here, okay, you can start to smooth it. Just keep going up and down and across this way. Okay. Joining that clay together. I need to pull up on height. It got a little fat at the bottom, so I'm going to pull it up here. Okay. Squeeze it around. So you can see I've smoothed it out. It's not perfectly like slick and smooth, okay? But you can't see the seams in the clay anymore. So I've got a nice solid wall of clay there. All right, now press that down at the top. I still want to make sure that my tube is loose in there, okay? And put it back down so I make sure it's not stuck. Okay. And you want to make sure you don't wrap around the tube because then I can't pull it out. What happens is as clay dries, it shrinks a little bit. And if it shrinks around this tube, it might crack as it dries. So at the end of the day, after you've done this part, I'm going to have to pull this out so it doesn't shrink around that and crack your totem, okay? If I tried to put this back inside there, it won't fit. It's too small. It's shrunk just enough you can't get it back in there. All right, so this is what you're trying to get done on day 1 of building with the clay. So once you've got the form, we're going to save this for next week. So I'm going to come around with a spray bottle. We're going to wet or dampen this towel, and you're going to wrap that around the outside of your clay. And we'll put it in a plastic bag. I will have your name written on there because I can't pass around the Sharpies for everyone right now. And you're going to make sure it seals. Get the air out of it and seal it up. And I will collect these and put them in a box and keep them until the next time you come to art. Now it's time for day 2 of building with clay. So you're going to take it out of your bag, take the wet paper towel off and throw that away in your trash bucket. Now you've got this piece and you want to add your details of your animal on the outside of it. So you'll get a piece of clay. This is one I pinched off of already, but it's still usable because I haven't done anything but pinch pieces off. I'm going to use a rolling pin. I might have some big fat cardboard tubes that you can use. We're going to roll it out just a little. Notice I'm just rocking. I'm pressing down with my hands. Okay. Think about a cookie or a pancake. Okay, the thickness of your finger again. If it's too thin, it'll break when you start to cut it, and it'll break when it dries. You want to make sure you got enough clay there to work with. So I'm going to show you how to add the eye of the hummingbird here. It depends on what kind of animal you're doing as to what you need to cut out. So you can use a pencil. I have these little tools with a metal piece at the end, but you don't want to cut all the way through until you're sure what you want. So I'm just going to gently glide this across and just make a light scratch into the clay. Okay, so if I like that, I'll cut it out. If I don't, I can take my magic finger and smooth that back out. See? Because it was so light. I'm going to use the edge here as part so I don't have to cut so much clay off. And I'm going to come over here. That's probably too big, but alright. I like that. I'm going to cut that out. So I'm going to take a clay tool like this. You might have a plastic knife, okay, like this. Those work great for clay too. And I'm going to glide it along that line that I drew. Pull that out. There we go. Now I've got my piece I want to add on. So we need to do a process called score, slip, and merge. Scoring means to scratch the clay lightly. Like when I was tracing my design on here to see if I liked it, very lightly. I'm just dragging it across the clay. I'm not gouging into it or trying to cut through. I'm just scratching it a little bit. I'm going to do the back side of the eye. I'm going to add just barely scratching the top layer of the clay. Then you're going to get a cup of what we call slip, which is just clay that's had enough water added to it. It feels like pudding. Okay. So I'm going to take some of this. It's messy. And I'm going to smear that over where I scratched it or scored it. All right. I'm going to add my eye down on top. Okay. Now I need to merge it. So I'm going to take my clay tool. You could use your fingers too. But along the seam, I'm going to take my clay tool and press down the side here so that I can't see the seam anymore. And it's merging itself with the form, the base. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing from the top here. I'm going to come along. That's why you want to make your pieces just a little bit larger than what you think you want, because you can always take clay away. And you're going to need to have enough clay to merge it. You're going to be taking some of, you can see my eye's getting a little bit smaller because I'm merging some of that clay down to the base that we made before. Now I'm going to take my finger along the edge and smooth it out. Again, that magic finger. Now I can kind of start to shape it a little bit. Okay. Just work with it, move it with your fingers gently, not too much. Okay. Now I've added my eye on there and I've smoothed it out nice. It looks good on the body of the totem. Now I can add another piece. You can build up doing that, or you can take a pencil, your clay tool. I'm going to use the end of this because it's round, and you can glide that through the clay and you can carve designs into your clay. So maybe you want to carve out some designs in your clay. Pull the extra pieces away that roll up. See? And you can even use the thin end of your pencil will work like this. So you can add those decorative designs by carving a little bit into your clay as well. You have two options. Okay. Now I'm going to let you work, finish your design, and when you're all done, you're ready for it to dry, leave it setting on top of your bag, and I will come collect it. You are responsible for putting your tools in the return cart so I can clean them. I'm going to have a bucket for used clay. You'll put your used clay in the bucket for me to take. You're going to throw all of your trash in a trash bucket. Okay, so tools returned, clay put away. It's all ready to go. I will come around and collect this and put it on a tray and roll it into the kiln room to dry. All right, then I'll fire it after they're all dry, and the next time you see it, it will be white. It will be in bisque form after the first firing, and you will paint it with acrylic paint. All right. Happy art making, and I'm looking forward to us completing this project.